Hi, today I'm here to share 3 tips for buying a leather belt and does price always equal quality? Um, I'm going to share with you what to look for when buying a leather belt. Again, higher end prices do not always mean better quality. What to look for, how to tell the difference between a good quality and less quality, more expensive belt, and the difference if you're looking for a belt with a design on it, what the difference is between a tooled, an embossed, a stamped, a carved belt, and what those terms mean and how you tell the difference. If you don't know who I am, again, my name is Jan Hibbard. My business is Log Cabin Leather by Jan. I've been making handmade leather goods since 1977. Belts have long been one of my best sellers. I have more videos in my series and so forth about how I make the belts and how I got started on that. If you want to find out more about the products I make and so forth, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, I'd love a thumbs up on this video if you're watching, just so I see who's watching it to help share my reach and so forth. It helps a small business like mine grow. Also, if you have any comments or things you'd like to ask or more information you want on anything, please feel free to leave a comment. Once again, my name is Jan Hibbard. I've been making handmade leather goods since 1977. Belts have always been my best seller. And again, when you're looking for one, especially if you're buying online, it's very difficult to tell the quality. If you're buying in person, which a lot of my sales are in person, I do a lot of craft shows here in the Northeast. I live in New Hampshire, so most of the shows I do are in the New England area. So buying them in person, the first and the easiest way to identify a real leather belt if you're buying in person is the smell. No, that may sound funny, but most people, again, when I'm at a craft show outside or whatever, even 2 or 3 booths away, people can say they usually can smell the leather. That obviously tells you it's real leather. Now, there's all different qualities of real leather too, and this is where a lot of times a high-end store isn't going to be a better quality belt. For example, Harley Davidson, a belt that has a stamped Harley Davidson on the back of it is going to be probably twice expensive as another belt. Now, I'm not saying those are not good quality because actually they are solid leather belts in most cases, I believe, you know, so there is quality there. So first of all, when you're looking for a belt, you do want something that's solid leather. The thickness is going to give a clue to that. If it's really thin and it says it's leather, number one, it's not going to hold up and it may not be real leather. Now, this is in pretty rough shape, so I don't even know if I can show you any part of this that's any good. This is sold as a leather belt from a fairly high-end store. It's stamped on a John Mayer belt. I'm not sure really what that is. It says solid leather, or says leather. I don't think any part of this is leather. Now, this is supposed to be the leather component here. And the leather is this piece is as thin as a sheet of paper. It has a cloth backing on it. So if that's the leather, that's the outside of the belt. If that's the leather, then it is what I would call bonded leather. It's like plywood. It's scraps of leather pieces ground up, glued back together. There's no quality there. That is gonna break anytime. Like you get microfiber leather lace, same thing. It's particles put together. You pull anything on it, it's gonna rip. This is not gonna. I mean, then this has a cloth lining. It has cardboard in the side. Again, you get. I don't know if most people would be able to tell from the edges. You can see that there's some thickness, but it's I don't know. A lot of leather belts that are not good quality too are sewn together, and because it is layers like this. Now this is even glued, so it doesn't even have stitching. A lot of handmade belts, again, they're going to be thicker. They're going to be a solid piece. The backing doesn't need to have a backing. My leather is so smooth on the back of it, and the quality of this leather is so beautiful. You can barely tell the back from the front, like on a plain leather belt. A lot of people have a hard time, telling the back from the front because it's so smooth. It really is. So that you can tell the difference. But smell would be really the easiest way. Obviously, you can't do that if you order it online. Then you'd have to wait till you got it to be able to do that. Stitching means it's usually more than one piece sewn together, so they're going to be thinner pieces. And see, it really all depends on the wearer. That type of belt is fine for somebody to wear with a dress suit, a woman to wear with a dress, or again, my belt is holding up my pants, but it's not cinched up tight. Some men, and that's the difference too, cinch their belts up very tightly when they put them on. I mean, they cinch them as tight as they can, sucking in that gut. And I know because I sell them at craft shows, and that's what so you need a rugged belt to do that. Something like this isn't going to last on that, and that's where it starts to fall apart and crack, is because you're putting that strength. So you need a solid leather belt. Again, if it's sewn together, it's going to be thinner pieces put together, and not all the pieces may necessarily be leather, even if the outside is. So those are things to look for. Now, handmade belts are definitely going to be better quality. I have to say, handmade leather belts are going to be far better quality. I hate to say it, or in that case, sometimes you might have a buckle and it's sewn on, that the belt is stitched around the edges. Some people do put a thin lining on the back. The buckle is sewn onto the belt. But again, stitching can break. So to me, why do that? You don't need the stitching. The belt is rugged without the stitching. My buckles are removable, so you can switch them around and things like that. So, but those are different options. Definitely a handmade belt is going to be better than, store-bought in a lot of cases. So the stitching, again, watch for that, because that's going to kind of tell you what it's made from and things like that. Now, the other thing I was going to talk about today is stamped versus embossed designs. Tool designs, all these words talk about putting designs on leather. And again, what I do are hand stamped designs. Now, embossed designs, and again, a lot of things have handmade leather things. They are embossed. Somewhere here, I actually have an embossing wheel. I never ever use it. I should have gotten it out before this. Now, embossing is you're pressing the design in. It's rolled on. Now, this is just a little tiny embosser, and it's a wheel, and it's going to roll the design like on the edge of a belt. And again, it's not going to work on anything I have right here now, because the leather needs to be wet. It's going to press it, it's going to roll a design on. It's not going to be very deep. So that's an embossed belt, and a lot of designs, and the design is going to repeat. Now, something like a design, things like this can be embossed. It's done by a machine. Obviously, these are geometric designs, so the design does repeat. But it's not going to have the depth. Most of them are not going to have the coloring and things, which is what I'm working on these now. So that's what makes them a little bit different. They're going to have colors on them and things like that when they're dyed. But embossed is pressed in. It's not going to be as deep. These are what I call stamped. But this, again, really is tooling. But there's also carved belts where you're doing a scene, a picture. And again, the ones that this is, and again, those are not, it has animals. It's carved into the leather. See, this is 40 years old, but it's not done very well. This is another, this was a carved belt. But again, this was made over 40 years ago. It was my father's. So it's well worn. And again, this is when I was first new, so does not have the depth that my carvings would have now. Now this type of belt with the scene, hand carved, this is where you're going to get into the pricey belts, because this is done by hand. It takes time. Things were painted on afterwards. And see, this is where I learned different coloring techniques that, I didn't know back then, which is why some of the color was coming off a little bit. But again, belts that are done like this with designs, leaves, those are quite expensive to make. It's time consuming to do. It's done by hand. Embossing, and again, you can I can tell anybody by looking at the patterns, it's simpler, and it doesn't have the depth. It doesn't have the color. Even if it's dyed, it doesn't have the color in the design and so forth when it's finished. So again, it depends on what you want. Those, I'm not going to say a lesser quality, because again, it can be solid leather and have an embossed design. But again, so if you're looking and you're wondering why it's so expensive, if it's carved in, yes, it is going to be more expensive than if it's rolled on with a machine. Now, an additional way that sometimes I put designs on, and this is something that I've been working on some too, not on belts or anything, is engraving. Now, engraving is where you can put words and things into the pattern and so forth, and things like that. It's done with a laser. It's engraved in. So that's going to make a black kind of design on the leather. And then, I mean, it can be dyed over there and things like that. So that's something usually where you're printing more of a, a bit like a, I don't know, a silhouette or something, a picture or something like that. So again, that's pretty much going to wrap up what I wanted to talk to you today about. If you have any questions or comments, if you want to know more about my products, I do put out video series this month, and next month I'm talking all about handmade leather belts. I will be launching a new belt line, new stamped belts, which is what I have right here on the table in front of me, that will be coming out in March. So I am working on talking about those. So that will be my goal for the next couple months. And then this line will launch in March with all new belt designs. If you want to see what I'm making and so forth, please subscribe to my email. I'll talk about that in a minute. And that's where you're going to be the first to see what I have. So once again, if you've watched this, I'd love a thumbs up, subscribe. I'll tell you a little bit more in a minute about joining my email and what the benefits of that are. But again, today I talked about pricing on belts. Does quality always equal price? And no, it does not. I gave you some tips on what to look for when buying a leather belt, the thickness, the quality, the smell, and how to tell the difference in the designs on a leather belt. Embossed different versus carved versus stamped, all of which can be called tooled belts. So I talked about that. Again, I have videos coming out each week that talk about my products. So if you want to find out more about those, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. But also, if you want to get links to the videos, find out about my product lines, to get discounts and deals on my things, everybody that's a VIP insider, those are the people on my email list, get the best deals and discounts. When the new product line is launched, they always have first dibs on what's on there. When I have sales, they usually have access to the sale prior to the public, things like that, and get better discounts and so forth. So if you want to join my email, there is a link at the bottom here where you can join, and you'll find out a lot more about my products. I send about a weekly email, which usually has links to some of these videos. So, again, sometimes it's hard to navigate on YouTube and find what you're looking for. You can get a link directly there. I also do post a lot of them on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook and enjoy watching things on that, you can also find those on my Facebook page. Again, most of my things are Log Cabin Leather by Jan. My website is logcabinleatherbyjan.com. My Facebook page is Log Cabin Leather by Jan. My YouTube channel, again, you're on it if you're watching this, so I think you found that. But again, links to all these things will be, below, or join my email and you get them delivered to your inbox each week. That's going to wrap it up for now. Thank you. Again, if you saw this and you liked it, I would appreciate a thumbs up, so it will help share this to other people. That's going to wrap it up for now. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye.